Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here. I just wanted to wait for the rest.
I couldn't hear anything, that's why.
Oh, okay, no problem. I'm still here. We're about 7 then. Okay, is the who has a concern? Is the person here? Let me listen to it now.
I'm here.
Okay. All right. So what's your concern?
Well, my concern is about the term called hard coding. I don't know
Okay.
if a lot of people understand what that means.
Yeah. Okay, I'm still with you.
From the code, you had coded the $sign symbol. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
You know, this is okay. You know, this
So I
is
just think it's
you just think it's what?
I just think if you just use it as an opportunity to at least just share more light on that for those that don't know. Just see it as an opportunity to learn about something.
Okay.
Because there are different ways of representing $sign.
Good.
And coding is not really a good thing to do with programming.
Good. Very good suggestion. Thank you for that. So I'm going to actually say something as regards that. Now, what I'm going to say is that at coding based on our assignment, if you look at the assignment very well, we will notice that there was no instruction for us to receive user input. So that is why we are, but so far everything we've been doing apart from the $sign, we've had coded these things here. When we created the object, we had coded it. When we created this clothing, we had coded it. So when we doing since it's hard coding, it's just because of an assignment. The assignment is trying to test our the way we use object-oriented programming. That's what you just want to test about. It's not testing. It's not an ideal application. We are not building an application for the world yet. So what they were looking for when they want to score us is the way we use the methods in the class, the way we use it to undo the objects that we created from it. But if this were to be a standard application, an application that we are going to put in the market, then I will have made changes so that it's going to take in user inputs. It's the first thing the application will do is that it's going to ask us that what budget do you want to create? If we type in food, we will pass in that food as the name of the budget and as the name of the variable, then that, like that. Now that is something that you can actually try on your own as well. Maybe when you want to review this session and you want to test your knowledge, you can try it out by yourself just to add more interesting features. Add more interesting features to your code. So I don't know if I was able to answer your question.
Yes, it wasn't a question, it was just a suggestion.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. That's a very good suggestion. Thank you for that. So we have finished step 3 that says withdraw. Is it withdraw? Yeah, which is step 2 here. But I took this first statement as a step 1. So I finished step 3 that says withdraw funds from each category. The next thing we want to do now is to calculate the balance for each category. And we're going to make use of a method to do that. We're going to make use of a method to calculate the balance for each category. So let me just, no need to look at another file. Let me just put something here and say 3 dots. Let me take the instruction. Compute category balances. I want to compute. So I will say this is step 3 and 4. Right. So at the end of our withdraw, method, we create another method and we call it balance. No, get balance rather. Get balance. So we want to get balance. Or you can call it compute balance, since the question says compute category balances. So it works whatever way. So now, how many parameters will our balance method take? Our balance method should only take just one parameter. We will not need to pass in balance into the method to get the balance, because balance already belongs to the class. So the only thing we have to do just to get the balance now, what we just need to do is to say self dot balance. No, rather instead of self balance, we can just return a statement that say return self dot balance. We just tell it to return self dot balance back to us. So I'll let us run this first, then I will now put it in a way that is readable for a user. Then you cannot just return doing this. Yes, we're just going to return a number, and someone looking at it, we don't know what does this number represent. So let us run this first. Let's make sure it works. Let us get balance. So we've been able to instantiate here. We deposited, we withdrew. Now let us get the present balance for our objects. So print. Let's get food balance first of all. Print food dot get balance. It's going to still have a parenthesis. Food dot get balance will have a parenthesis, but we are not going to pass anything into the parenthesis, since when we are creating the method, we do not pass anything into it. So we'll leave it empty. Then we also do a demarcation. And then we print clothing dot get balance. We will not pass anything into it as well, because remember, both of them are sharing all the attributes and methods from this budget class. So let us run this and see what we get. Let me also create a demarcation here for usability purpose. So I'm going to run this. Let me clear my screen and run it again. So what I have is, first things first, when we deposited, it told us that your new balance is $2,000 in food budget, and your new balance is $5,000 in clothing budget. Then when we try to withdraw with a higher amount than what is in food budget, it told us insufficient funds. But when we use a lower amount than what is in clothing budget, it told us transaction was successful, and our new balance is now 3,000 from instead of 5,000, we withdrew 2,000. So our new balance is 3,000. Now the next thing we now do is that we wanted to get the balance, food dot get balance. So food dot get balance gave us 2,000 for food and 3,000 for clothing. So we have seen that this dot get balance method, this dot get balance method here, it works. Let me clear this thing so it doesn't affect with our screen. So this dot get balance work, but the way we wrote it is not informative enough. So let us use a variable called feedback, the string, just to give us information. Say your balance, or instead of your balance, let's say the balance for, let's call the budget name self.name. The balance for self.name, I'll use an F string here since I'm calling a variable inside it. So the balance for self.name is self.balance. So instead of returning self.balance here, I will say return feedback. I'll say return feedback. So let's run our code again and see what we get. Let me clear my screen and run it again. So if you notice down here, this last two statements are the last thing we did, which is we wanted to get the balance. So it tells us that the balance for food is 2,000 and the balance for clothing is 3,000. We did not put $sign. Let's put $sign. Save it, then run it again. So it says the balance for food is $2,000 and the balance for clothing is $3,000. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's clear to me.
Wow. I'm actually impressed that no one has asked any questions so far. So we are actually saying that object-oriented programming is something easy and relatable. We just need to rack our brain a little. So we are done with step 4 that says which is step 3 here that says compute category balances. Now this is the tough part here that says transfer balance amount from one between categories. That's from one object to another, from the food object to the clothing object. Let us see how we can transfer. We can make a transfer from their balances. Now let's go back to VS Code. So let me copy the instruction here that says transfer balances. I'll put this here. So let's go down now. We have deposit, withdraw, get balance. Under get balance, we create another method that will handle transferring funds. So let's call the method transfer. Okay. So now, what parameters should transfer take? First of all, transfer should take self, comma. Now, what other thing should transfer take? Who has an idea? I want someone to talk. What other parameters should transfer take? Remember, when we are transferring something, who said something?
Amount.
Thank you, amount. So transfer should take amount. Now remember that transfer is we are not just transferring for transferring sake. We are transferring between categories. This word here is very important. Between categories. No, everything we have been doing since is within a particular category. Now I want to communicate between two categories. That's between food and clothing. We want to have a relationship between both of them. So, which means that there is one more parameter that this transfer should take. And it should take what? Category.
Name. Okay.
You take a category. Yeah, you can call it name, whichever way you interpret it. But let us call it category, since we are transferring between categories. All right. So now, how should we use the amount and the category that is passed into the transfer function? Okay. So the first things first is what? We have to do something. Remember, one wanted to withdraw, because you know that transfer, when we are talking about transfer, we are dealing with we are deducting money from somewhere and we are adding money to another place. So the first thing we have to do is that the present object that we are transferring money from, we have to first of all check the balance. We have to check if, let me create space here. I have to check if the balance in the present one is less than the amount we want to transfer. If it's less, we'll just say, return the statement that says insufficient funds. Now that is aside, we have cleared, and it's like we do this so that we don't get any error when we are running our code. So now that is cleared, the next thing we need to do now is to handle the transfer. Now, if the amount we want to send is present, we have sufficient funds in our balance. Now let us send the money. So what we do is that we first of all withdraw from our present balance. We say self.balance minus equal to amount. Now, this statement here is the same thing as self.balance is equal to self.balance minus amount. The point is that we are withdrawing from our balance. Now, that balance we are withdrawing, we are going to add it to what? To the balance of this category here. This category parameter we are taking. So we say category dot balance is equal to is plus equal to amount. I'm going to add amount, that same amount to what? To the balance of category. Now, someone should ask a question here. I believe a question should arise from here. Why am I using category dot balance here? Is that a question that comes up? Okay, I mean, sure everyone understands. Abby?
No, I understand. Why are we using it?
Okay, all right. So why are we using category dot balance here?
Yeah.
We are using category dot balance
Okay.
because. Are you with me?
Mm.
Okay, let me continue. So we are using category dot balance because this category we are passing here is an object, and that object has all the attributes of this class budget. And remember, class budget has a property called balance. That means category, this category we are passing here also has a property called balance, and it is that balance that we want to add money into. So we say category dot balance. Yeah, and let us add the money into it. While the one we are transferring from self dot balance, we withdraw that same amount from it. So now, after we've withdrawn and we've added to the other one, let us now return a statement. We say feedback is equal to, let us put something nice here, just to make it look neat.
Sorry, is category, is it the same as name?
No, this
Or they are two
category,
different
this
things
category
entirely?
is an object.
Yeah,
So
on its own.
So I can make it plain and say, okay, this is an object. It's going to receive an object. Remember, these are objects here. Food is an object, clothing is an object. But if I use object is a keyword in Python. If I use objects here,
Okay.
it's a keyword, so it's going to run an error. That's why I'm not using objects. So that's why I just
Okay,
say
so now, okay.
all right.
Okay.
No, ask. I'm with you.
Oh,
Well,
it's fine.
Okay. Or let me use category underscore object, so you know that it's an object. That's why it has a property called balance. Category underscore object. So it has a property called balance. So it's a category object. Remember, food is a category, clothing is a category. So it's like saying food, exactly. It's like saying food dot balance. If we should pass food into, let's say, clothing dot transfer, and we pass in food into it. So food is this thing here now. It's the money we are adding to.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to know.
Exactly.
Like,
Why clothing is the money we withdraw from.
category is on the same level with food and clothing, like they are the same thing.
Exactly. So you will see how we let me finish defining the method. I want to make the method look pretty. So feedback is is equal to, no, concatenate it by using plus equal to. Now let us now give an information. We will say that transfer was successful. Then make it move to a new line. For that information, you say that feedback as well. You say the balance for I'll use an F string here because I want to call the variable. So the balance for self dot name, that's the class we are transferring money from. The balance for self dot name is $sign self dot balance. Then balance. Then on another line, next line, we say that the balance for the one we transferred to now, the balance for category object. So category object dot name, because it's an object, it has a name, is $sign category object dot balance. Balance. Now let's return feedback. So feedback is going to contain all these things like this. We're going to print it out in separate lines. All right. Now let us test it out and see. So what I want us to do here is that let me take away this thing. Let me take away this thing. We want to bring it up from the print statement. Let me clear all of this like this. So to show, I want to illustrate transfer now. So the first thing we do is we instantiate the objects food and clothing. Now remember, when we instantiate initially, their balance is what? 0. Then the next thing we do is what? We deposit money into them. So we give our food budget $2,000 and we give our clothing budget $5,000. Now let us transfer. Since clothing budget has more money than food budget, let us transfer some money from clothing into food. So we say clothing dot transfer, then remember the first thing to take is an amount. It takes an amount. No, it's not. It takes an actual amount. So let us see, how much should we transfer from clothing? Let's say 1.5. Yeah, let's say 1.5. Now, where are we transferring 1.5 to? Let's transfer it to food. Now, to make sure that this thing gives us an output when we run it, we enclose it inside, we wrap it inside a print function. That's why you see that we've been wrapping things inside print since, so that it gives us an output. So let's save it. And then let's run it. Now, what do we have here? It says transfer was successful. The balance for clothing is now 35, and the balance for food is now 35. Remember, it was 2,000 and 5,000 before, but after the transfer, they now have equal balances. So, was our transfer successful? We reused our transfer method very well. Any question? Any contribution? We are recording. I know I hope it's not a lot to take in at this point. So someone asked a question actually. It says, what happens when someone tries to transfer to the same category it was transferring from? Say you are transferring from food to food. Good question. Good question. I will handle that in a minute, but let me see if anybody has a question concerning what we have done here. Transferring from one category to another category. No question? All right. Now let me answer that question. Transferring from food to food. It is true we are supposed to undo that because it's an error. Imagine transferring from an account to that same account. Instead of transferring from an account to an account, we should just make use of deposit. We should just deposit money into it. So in case somebody puts clothing inside clothing with the transfer method, let's give it an if statement and do it. So let us say, first of all, before we do anything, let us say if self dot name is equivalent to the category object that we are passing into dot name. Now we should print out something. We should say feedback. Let's use feedback here. Feedback should be, let's put error in capital letters. Error. Then concatenate. Let's put in a new line first of all. Error. Continue the feedback. Say that error. So you can not transfer from, you cannot transfer within a or within the same category. Now let us return that feedback. So return feedback. But let us even give the user further information. We'll tell the user feedback again. Put this in a new line here. You say you can only deposit within the same or within a category. Right. Now let us test our if statement and see what it gives us. So let us change this from clothing the transfer. This statement that says clothing the transfer 1.5 to food. Let's turn it to clothing again. Okay, save it. Then let's run it. And it's well. Now, what does it give us? It says error. You cannot transfer within the same category. You can only deposit within a category or within the same category. So have I answered your question? Have I?
Yeah.
Good.
I think it's perfect and good for.
Sorry, what are you saying?
I think it's the perfect code for the assignment. I mean, it's
Oh,
something
yeah.
we can relate to.
Exactly. Let us make sure that we are done with the tax. So after transferring, next thing you push your code to GitHub and submit the repo. I believe everybody knows how to push code to GitHub now. I think. Okay, but it's pretty easy to do that. Well, let us tackle this tax here. So everybody should look at everything that has been written so far and see the questions they can ask from it. We still have some minutes to spare.
Yeah, no, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I joined the class a bit late.
Okay.
I think trying to flow along, but
Okay.
I would appreciate if you can just run through the whole thing in form of a summary.
Okay. All right. I can do that.
Bring me
So,
up to speed with
okay.
the other.
So let me go back. Let me pick instruction from step 1. Let me pick it and let me paste it here. Then there's one other thing I should put here. Just a minute. I want to use it to explain. Okay. So this here. So we are told to create a budget class that can instantiate objects based on different categories. So that what we did first of all here, we created a budget that can instantiate class based on different categories. What does it mean? Like when we initialize an object from this budget class, we have to pass in a name for it, a category name. So that's why down here, when we said food is equals to what? Budget food. So this food we pass in here is the name of that category. Okay. So next thing we do, they ask us to do is to what? The object that we've created now should be able to handle depositing funds to each. Yes, each object should be able to deposit funds into it. So that's what we did here now. We got the self when we created it, first of all, the balance was 0. Now we created a method called deposit, and the deposit will take the actual amount we want to deposit into that budget. So we now equate the balance, which is 0, to the amount that we pass into the deposit method, which is this. So the new balance will now be the amount we passed into it. Good. Now, the next thing we do, we want to create a function that will handle withdrawing from balance, which is this withdraw function here now. But before we can actually withdraw, we have to check what our balance is. If our balance is smaller than the amount we want to withdraw, tell the user, your money no withdraw. Try again. But if it's not small, now let us handle the withdrawal. What do? We say self.balance is equals to self.balance minus the amount we want to withdraw. So we subtract the balance from the amount we want to withdraw, and we give a user feedback. We tell the user that the transaction was successful, and this is your new balance from this budget that you withdrew from. Okay. Then we wanted to compute the category balances, which is this get balances.
Can you hear me, Judge?
Yeah, I can hear you. You want to ask a question? Can you hear me now? Chiboy.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing we wanted to do now is to get balances. And that one is pretty straightforward. We just get self.balance back to the user, or we put it into a nice statement so that it's going to be readable for someone that is not a programmer. So we put it in a variable called feedback. We say the balance for that category name is self.balance, and we return a feedback to the user. Now the last thing we handle is what? Transferring balance amount between categories. I'm sure you met where I was explaining this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So to put everything we've done together, let's do this. Let's do to test all the methods again. The first thing we instantiated, we deposited. Now let's withdraw. So food dot withdraw from the food budget. Let us withdraw 2.5 from food budget, and let us withdraw from clothing. Let us withdraw 1,000 from clothing. But in order for us to see the result of this, we put it in the print method. We do the same for this as well. Then we create a demarcation here, print. Let's use that demarcation when we are done with withdrawing. Then after withdrawal, next thing is what? Get the balance. So we print again, we print food dot get balance. Get balance does not take any argument, so we leave the parentheses empty. We do the same thing for clothing dot get balance, parentheses close and empty. We click the demarcation, and now we transfer from clothing to food. Now let's transfer from food back to clothing. So food dot transfer. Let's transfer just 200 naira because there's not much money in food. Or rather $200 because we are using dollars. We've been using dollars since clothing. So now let's run our code very well and see what we get. Let me press the run button to clear my screen so you see it very well and press it again. So this insufficient funds started from here. Started when we wanted to withdraw 2,500 from food. Food, we only deposited 2,000. We cannot get 2,500 from it, so there is no money, insufficient funds. But we deposited 5,000 in clothing, so we can get at least 1,000 from it. So you see your transaction was successful. Your new balance is $4,000 in clothing budget. Then use this method here to get the balance. So it says the balance for food is $2,000. The balance for clothing is $4,000. Then use this transfer method to transfer money from clothing to food, transfer 1,500. So it says transfer was successful. The balance for clothing is now 2,500. We're moving 1,500 from 4,000. And the balance for food is now 3,500, adding 1,500 to 2,000. Now we will transfer 200 from food to clothing. So this gives us food as 3,300 instead of 3,500 now, and clothing as 2,700 instead of 2,500. So that way, we've successfully built a budget app. So in case anybody is having any challenge uploading their code after they've assimilated and tried this out on their own, because I'm going to post this thing on YouTube, and you'll get it. So anybody, you comment on the group, I'm sure many people, even I, will contribute on how to send your code to GitHub, upload it on GitHub. So we have less than 1 minute. Should we rejoin again, or we should call it closing? If I'm rejoining, it's just to take any question.
For me, I don't have any question.
Okay.
I will have to go because I have work very early tomorrow.
Okay. Any other person?
I also don't have any question. I think everything is clear.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm glad you could understand. What about Shukra? Shukra, what about you?
Thank you for the session. I actually came late first, but I think I understand. And I'll watch it again.
Oh, very well. Very well. You've done well. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I will communicate whenever.